Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. What would you pack if you were going on a trip? Would you pack pajamas, a toothbrush, and shoes? Maybe you would, because we often know what we need. But there are times when we don't know what we need. Suppose you found a caterpillar on your trip. You wouldn't have packed a jar for it because finding the caterpillar was a surprise. We can't know everything we are going to need. But God always knows what we need. He knows what we need today and what we will need tomorrow or next week. He knows about everything we will ever need. That's because El Roi, the God who sees everything. Everything now and everything for all our lives. So he never forgets what we are going to need, as we sometimes do when we pack for a trip. What Bible stories show that God knows and takes care of what his children need? God is Jehovah Jireh. The Lord will provide. That means God takes care of the needs of his children. He gives them what he knows they need and even what they don't know they need. Before Jesus died on the cross to pay for your sin, God's people used to ask him forgiveness for their sins by making sacrifices. They had to kill certain animals and burn them. Abraham and his son Isaac went to make a sacrifice. They brought wood, a knife, and fire with them. What was missing? They needed a sacrifice, and Isaac knew this. He said, "Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" Genesis 22:7. Abraham, too, knew they needed a sacrifice. He also knew that God is Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. Abraham said, "God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." Genesis 22:8. Abraham was ready to make the sacrifice, but only Isaac was there. Abraham did not have a lamb, a goat, or even a dove. What would happen? And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram, caught in a thicket by his horns. Genesis 22:13. God gave Abraham a ram for the sacrifice because he is Jehovah Jireh. The Lord will provide. So Abraham killed the ram and sacrificed it to ask God's forgiveness for sin. Is this the only sacrifice Abraham made? No. Abraham and the people of Israel made many, many, many sacrifices because they kept on sinning. What they really needed was a forever sacrifice, one that would pay for all the sins they did and all the sins they would do the next day and the next week and all their lives. God knew this, and God, who is Jehovah Jireh, did give a forever sacrifice, his son Jesus, who died on the cross. If God has given the very best, his very own son, can he be trusted to give his children everything else they need? Yes, he can. That is why we can call him Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. God takes care of his children in a very special way, and he also provides for those who don't even love him. What does this tell you about God? How has God taken care of you? Let's thank God for being Jehovah Jireh. Learning to trust God. Read some Bible stories that show God provides for his children. For example, Exodus 17:1-7, 1 Kings 17:1-16, John 6:1-14. Does God give us everything we want or all that we need? God gives his children everything that is good for them. Read and talk about Romans 8:32. Ask your mom or dad to tell about a time when God showed he is Jehovah Jireh by providing for them. Is there anything your family needs now? Can you trust Jehovah Jireh to provide it or something better? Activity. Sometimes God provides for others by sending us to help them. Does your family know of someone with a need? You could help an older person, or make a meal for a family with a new baby, or send a care package to a missionary, or encourage someone who is lonely.